leaving here today, don't just accept it on our say-so. I encourage you to be here for the Berean Church and make notes and do the research for yourself so you can be fully convinced within your own mind. So we can take our seats so we can get started. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, I'll put my disclaimer in. Please be gentle with me. As my first presentation of conference. I pray that the Father will be able to help you to understand the danger that we're in, and He's able to use me as His servant to help you to understand. Basically, one of the things that the Father asks us not to do is don't mix. We see this straight away. We talk about in Genesis 6, 4, and there were giants on the earth in those days. And after that, when the sons of men came in on the daughters of men, they bore children. The same became mighty men, who were of old men of renown. Here, the principle here is mixing. So we understand that. We're also told, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, wool and linen together. Again, mixing. We're also told, thou shalt not, whoever lieth with a beast shall surely be put to death. That principle is mixing. We also have someone by the name of Philo, the Greek. They call him more of a poet. And he says that he relates that, and he's making his comment, this is his comment, and he relates that the creation was a mixture of two things, angels and mortal women. Like Philo, that's his comment on Genesis. DNA, or otherwise called, no, I'm not going to bother to try that, I have been practicing it, but I haven't. Thank you very much, brother. I have practiced, but I haven't been enough about it. It's a building block of life. Now this building block contains all the information that the cell requires to synthesize its protein and replicate itself. In short, it's a storage repository for the information that's required for any cell to function. In other words, your body, from your hair to your toenail, is made up of DNA. Okay, it's a molecule that carries the genetic instructions in the growth and development and function and reproduction of all known living organisms and many viruses. DNA and RNA are nucleic acids. And they, alongside the protein, liptides and complex carbohydrates and polysaccharides, they're one of the four major types of macronucleus that are essential for all known forms of life. Most DNA molecules consist of two polymer strands coiled around each other. And that's what you see with that ladder there. It looks like a ladder, but actually it's two coils wrapped around each other. Now this you can do online if you wanted to. Do gene splicing. This is a little practice here. This is the same principle which we'll see later on. Remember what Gary was speaking about, that they understand that these are the rules that they would like to project, but not necessary to per se lay persons, but to those in the know. So what they'll do, in this particular case, they're going to take a human growth factor gene. They take the DNA, which causes, this is what they want to do, they will take the DNA that causes a unique trait in one organism, such as the DNA, that makes, for instance, a firefly that glows, and you splice it into a different organism, so that the second organism takes on the trait of the first organism, okay? In this particular case, I went through and did the Atlantic salmon. As some of you know, that they are already harvesting salmon to increase its growth. Because it takes salmon in the wild about 2 years to mature. They're trying to get that down to 6 months. All right? And they have a farm, and they intend to do this and grow that and then sell it to you that it's good quality salmon. Because salmon is good for us, yeah? Most people would agree with that, right? So what they then do, what you need to do is isolate or cut out. Notice I'm going to, a little later on I'll talk about this cutting out. We do this cut and paste in our text, don't we? They apply the same principle with our DNA. Cut out the DNA segment that codes for the source organism trait that you've chosen. It's highlighted here in green. And you do this by choosing the proper restricted enzyme. Only the proper enzyme will isolate the segment without cutting off the other parts of it, leaving it with a dangling end so that it can properly splice into the target DNA. Okay, so what they've done, they've cut out a bit of it, they know what bits are going to get left, so that when it gets to the host, it attaches correctly, right? So in this case it uses H, and the H enzyme cleaves to the AG site and leaves 6 single-stranded bases at each end. Right, okay, you're still in the engineering, right? Now this may be confusing, but in fact this is exactly how they do these things. So we now get to the point now where you've successfully isolated the proper gene fragment. You've then taken that vehicle into the host organism. Again, I've chosen H, and this then actually cleaves to the requirement and leaves the 6-stranded ends complete. So now it's done. Everything is done. That's the principle of it all. Okay, it does get technical on this. Okay? Continuing on. In February 1997, a team in Roslin Institute in Edinburgh, Scotland, headed by Dr. Highwalder, they succeeded in producing a healthy lamb. And you've heard about this lamb, haven't you? Yes? Yes.
Dolly.
And Dolly. Right. Now Dolly, here she is. This is the process that Dolly went through. Now, can you spot in there something unusual? Hopefully you won't. Anything that you can see in there which is unusual. Now, it looks all quite good to your eyes, doesn't it? You've taken a U, and you've taken another U, and you've put it into another U. Thank you very much, brother. Well spotted. I gave you the clue because I mentioned U, and U. No ram. Alright? And we thought it was brilliant, and in our minds, we said that that was a male ram and a female. And we said in our minds that that's what happened. They didn't tell you that that's not what actually happened. But that's what they did do. There was not a single, and we can see that perpetuated through since 97 to today. Can't we? Yes or no? Okay. How was that done? But before we get to that one here, Rodney Lewis, his goats are transgenic goats. Yes. These transgenic goats, they have 2 genes that allow a spider to weave their silk inserted into their genetic code. The results is that the goats produce milk that contain spider silk protein. Right? So they get the silk from the milk. And what they do, they freeze the milk, then they separate it. They take out the large protein in sieving process, and you're left with a smaller protein. That is then powder. They then convert that powder into something that a lot of Americans, and my brother here might know, Kevlar vests. We call them bulletproof vests. Right? That's what they're using for. And we think that's great. It's not a problem. They use them in surgery for sewing up someone who's had an injury. Okay? Sutures, correct. So, it's good. Notice they mixed again. We're told not to mix. Okay? We're told not to mix. We've only seen this one with you last year, this year, where we now have the controversial 3-parent baby technique which goes ahead, which went ahead. This was done by, in this country, Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority. That's what goes on in this country. So we have 3 persons IVF. Again, they use the same principle we've just been speaking about, which literally, and the whole idea obviously is that it was supposed to prevent babies from inheriting lethal genetic disease. Okay, that's the argument. Okay, but I would disagree with that, and here is my view. If you have a child, the child is born, then you go and inject the child, and then something happens to the child, what will your doctor say? He won't say that and which our brother here is going to come up with later on. The father's amazing. I want you to take a sidebar here. The father's amazing. I have my brother here who phoned me up. Actually, here's a story. Here's a full story. Here's a full story. I am at work, and I sent out my brother's here WhatsApp to another brother back there. And I said, come along. It'd be nice. I've listened to some wonderful speakers. I wasn't included on that. I said, listen to some wonderful speakers. Be great. My brother back there phones this brother, and apparently, this is what was said, I don't know how true it is because I wasn't there. He says, is Clev going to be in here speaking? My brother, apparently, this is how the story goes, says, no. And somewhere along the line, the father got involved. You know what he's like? He likes to be messing our business, but fair enough, praise God, he does these things. And he says, the 2 godly people who were supposed to speak in, our brother here couldn't get hold of them. So, this brother here phones me up and goes, do you fancy speaking? I go, no, I'm a weird human being. You don't get what a weird human being. And if anybody asks me something, I always assume it's the father speaking. Because that's what he does. Because I've always had this problem. How can you get Nebuchadnezzar to be your servant? In other words, he can use whoever he wants to get what he wants done. So the brothers, so he asks me, and I go, okay, all right. And I'm walking away and I'm going, what am I going to speak on? And eventually he comes back to me and he says, what are you going to speak on? Gene splicing. That sounds very interesting, doesn't it? Do you know anything about it? No. How long have you got? That's how the Father works. It's amazing. So consequently, that's why you see me here. So it's all his fault that I'm here. Nothing to do with me. Right? So we can see that even in this 3-parent child, which will be born apparently this year, may not have actually had a woman involved. Sorry, a man involved in the process. Because the argument is that women don't need, correct. So therefore, quote unquote, the state becomes the husband. And I've heard, this one I actually heard with my ears, a woman actually said that her friend has, who is married, actually are getting a divorce so that the government could give her a house. I thought, it's the craziest thing I've ever heard, but I heard it, I thought, wow, amazing. We move on. We've got to be aware of transhumanism. Now, transhumanism is after, it's not before, it's not, and it's translating or transferring us from how we are to another form, right? Another form. I better step it up a bit. So the hidden elite powers to be the architects of darkness have taken the idea that the more to understand the DNA, the closer they get towards holding the keys to immortality. That's their goal. Do you remember the lie that happened in the garden? Do you remember the lie? Anybody? Okay, what was the lie? Thank you very much, brother. You will be like gods, living forever. That symbol at the top there, that's the transhumanism symbol. This gentleman here, Julian Huxley. Here's a brother, another Huxley, another dark gentleman. Transhumanism is an international and intellectual movement that aims to transform the human condition by developing and making a widely available sophisticated technology to greatly enhance human intellectual, physical and psychological capacities. Transhumanists thinkers study the potential benefits and dangers of emerging technologies that could overcome fundamental human limitations, as well as the ethics of using such technologies. The most common transhumanist thesis is that human beings may eventually be able to transform themselves into different beings with the ability to greatly expand from the natural condition as to merit the label of post-human beings. That is their intention. And by the way, we're not in that equation. That 500 million that was mentioned earlier on does not include us. Genetically modified. What does that look like to you? Tomato. Do you know what they do with tomatoes today? Don't even want to know, do you? Really. They splice in, the same principle we just spoke about, they splice in spiders into the tomato because the gene allows the tomato to look, and we like our tomatoes lovely and red, don't we? And they're nice and firm. That's what they do. Right? These guys are scared the daylights out of me, they're honest. We're talking about cyber war as well. This country, by the name, this government invested nearly $2 billion to create the country's first cyber force to combat online threats from state and terrorist groups. The previous Chancellor, George Osborne, he mentioned this. Now, who's our terrorists at the moment, which the government says is? ISIS. They do have an agenda to make sure they remove our heads, I'm not disputing that. But they're actually being used as a thing that you should be afraid of. Yes, be very afraid of them, I agree. But they're using them as a decoy. This is what the magician does. Watch this. Don't watch this hand. Watch this. Okay? Although I agree, they're to be watched. And the whole idea is that they are supposed to have an increased capacity for protecting us. Scientists are now contemplating the fabrication of human genome, meaning they can use chemicals to manufacture the DNA. And in other words, they can create a human person without a biological parent. Our previous example, we used the female. We excluded the male. The next step is to exclude the female and then create a human being from scratch. Nothing. Basically being like God. They've also been speaking about this privately. Scientists are now contemplating through cloning to use synthetic genes in creating human beings. This gentleman here mentioned earlier on, Mr. Kurzweil, Ray Kurzweil. He made a many prediction. As you can see on here, he's got 20 honorary doctorates, he's written books, he's a principal inventor of many technologies ranging from the first CCD flatbed scanner to first print-to-speak reading machine. In the early 2000s, this is one of his predictions, in the early 2000s, exoskeletal limbs would be able to use to help disabled people walk. Companies like Exo, Bionics and others now have this technology. And this happened, and we know that this happens. We do see super soldiers, we also see limbs on human beings. We actually seen, as most of us have seen, the Olympics was a good example. And in the disabled, we have the Paralympics. In there we have men running on blades. And they run pretty quick. They are pretty quick. People would be able to talk to their computers and give their commands by the year 2009. This is one of his predictions. How many people do that today? Yeah? Yeah? Get your mobile phone, you go, I need some salt, sugar, and the phone is there and it's translating what you're saying, and you've got your list for your shopping. And you go, save, and you go off and get to the shop. Don't even bother to use your memory. Come on. And you thought that was a great tool, didn't you? Yeah? You take your phone out, oh yeah, I did mention salt. Oh yeah, I did mention sugar. So what's wrong with your memory? Come on, don't give me none of that. That was the idea the Father gave you that for. Come on, remember, most of us did the Shema. Teach your children so that they will know them and put it in their hearts. Memory, your heart. Come on. See how the enemy is so subtle? He's taking away these little things, and you go, it's helping me. Because, and now this is a good one for you. Who's ever heard of name it and claim it?
Oh, yes.
Who's ever heard of name it? You must have heard of name it and claim it. Good, thank you very much. I like the notes, that does help. Here's a good one. Name it and claim it. I've got a bad memory. Did you see it? Did you see what I did? I named it and I claimed it. Yeah, hallelujah. You're joking me, aren't you? Seriously? You want to claim that? Do you? No. So anyway, moving on. We see that natural language interfaces such as Apple, Siri and Google now have come along, and we really don't use our keyboards, do we? Oops, I pressed the wrong button. I'll start again. Okay. Okay. F5. There you go. I've got to go all the way through this because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing.
Could have Siri.
You know, wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I got carried away. I do apologize. So, we got to Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil also predicted that by 1997 we'd have a computer that would beat a human person human being playing chess. I like playing chess. I'm not very good at it, but I like playing chess. Moving on, looking ahead, because this is what it's about, isn't it? Looking ahead, and why our hope and ambition to merely one planet. This year, a group of influential scientists led by Yuri Miller announced that Alpha Centauri starship, on which will send a rocket of space probes to our nearest star system. Elon Musk later announced his plans to colonize Mars. The MIT scientist wants to make all these trips possible for human beings using CRISPR to re-engineer our own genes to keep us safe in space. Remember that word, CRISPR. That's another one which will come up. Yet for all those exciting events and breakthroughs, perhaps what's most inspiring and helpful is that this represents only a tiny sampling of the amazing story that makes the news this year. If trends like these keep up, there's plenty to look forward to next year. Even this man here, right, as well, within a quarter of a century, non-biological intelligence will match the range of subtlety of human intelligence. That's just scary. What does the Creator say about us? We are wonderfully made, beautifully made. Each one of us are unique. Each one of us got our own individual lives, which we've had different experiences. CRISPR, a revolutionary gene editing technique that can modify any region of the genome with high precision without harming other genes. Remember we just spoke about how it was able to cut out. They now have a wonderful method of doing this. In other words, CRISPR allows us to copy and paste. You do that with your text, don't you? So you understand the principle. You get a set of letters you don't want, you copy it out, you could cut it out, you now have something else which says something different. Modifying mosquito gene to resist malaria. Done by whom? Who does this one? Which organization has been modifying mosquitoes? Anyone? Thank you. You're all well up on the ball and heard about this. Hopefully I'm not telling you something you don't know, but something you didn't realize that was their agenda and how they were achieving these things. They had to edit the DNA of human immune cells to attack cancerous tumors. Well, for me, that's a weird one. The phrase or the word disease means what? That's right, it means dis-ease. It means that your body is not at ease. It's not relaxed. You're stressed out and you're struggling with something in your life, but you don't know how to handle it and you don't know where to go. Scripture does tell us that we're not supposed to have any disease. We're not supposed to be at a position where we're not relaxed. We're supposed to be relaxed in Him. We're supposed to be nice and calm. We're supposed to be having this love, or the idea of love is loyalty to Him and to one another. So therefore we shouldn't have any disease whatsoever. CRISPR can be used to edit DNA of living organisms. In one study, scientists engineered a mice to express HIV, then injected that into live mice with the CRISPR enzymes designed to cut out the genes. And believe it or not, it worked. They had 50% of the HIV-related genes achieve their target of removing the HIV out of that mouse. That's a scary rate. Obviously, and they're working on improving that. The Chinese researchers have already succeeded in using CRISPR on human embryos. So CRISPR's implications are endless. We could be close to a world where body hackers are testing out genetic upgrades on themselves. Now, our good brother here, when he was speaking, I'm the worst human being actually. I'm like, who by the way, who has an Amazon account or Amazon Fire Stick with them, or in their house? Anybody? Amazon? Okay, good, right, so therefore, you know about Amazon and its programs on Amazon, right? Now, I know most of us, those who don't have television anyway, have heard of Channel 4, right? And Channel 4, there's a program, I like this program, but then again, I'm not well. This program is called Humans. Who's heard of that one? Ah, right. And the humans, now, I didn't mention it before, you see, this is how the Father works, because he had me in isolation working on this. And he did what he did. Now, I'm just going to praise him and tell you that he's going to tell you something else, which he's already said, that I've already said, okay? Pretty much guaranteed. Humans, he mentioned about the fact that these humans want to gain human rights. This is in the program. This is called conditioning. This is what's called conditioning. I'm conditioning you so that when we get human beings here, get creatures, the machines, you will say, oh, it's a good idea, they should have rights. That's called conditioning. Alright? The phrase that I like, and I like to introduce it to the phrase, it's called full spectrum dominance. In other words, no matter which side of this ball you look at, their attempt is to control you from every single side that you can think of. Alright? That's how dangerous these people are. So the world where genetically modified pets and the latest craze in a time when all disease are treatable. The reason why I mentioned about the genetic hacking, I was watching another one of these series, and this woman, and this was on a program called Time Traveler, so if you're going to watch that, this woman sits down, and she's from the future, by the way, she's travelled into the past, and the whole idea is that us humans are stupid and we've blown up ourselves. And she starts to cut herself to put things in to prevent her body from reacting. Body hacking. Body hacking. Imagine. I can't imagine that in the future, but that's what they think anyway. So the new using this new version of CRISPR, researchers are able to genetically engineer cows and make them resistant to TB. We've heard of TB, haven't we? We had it years ago when... And TB is transmitted from which animal? Does anybody know? Thank you, brother. Badgers. We had a culling of badgers only recently, it was last year, early first half of last year, and they went all around trying to cull badgers. Now we can genetically modify the cow so it's resistant to TB, so they don't have to kill the badgers. And you're going to drink the milk, and you're going to eat the meat, and don't you think that mixing will cause a problem? Don't mix. So, moving on, I'm going to move through this quickly here. This is what they project for year 2019. Most of us have already seen phones on your wrists, yeah? I think Apple's got theirs, and there's a couple of Android ones about. Language translation. We have this, as our brother mentioned, babble, confusion. Right? human beings begin to develop deep relationships with AIs, artificial intelligence. That's where they're going. Autonomous cars now dominate our roads. Years ago, they had bus lanes. There's one in Erdington, and the bus lane is literally wide enough to get a bus in, and it's supposed to be a guided bus. Does anybody know that one? Yeah? Yeah? Guided bus, you know, so the bus driver comes up, puts it in the guided lane, and it's just curved either side, right, to make sure that the bus. Now we don't bother do that. Cars can do that now. They can literally, and we've seen the experiments going along with that. Now they reckon that the digital world makes paper books and documents almost completely obsolete. That's the scary. We've got phones, and in our phones, we've got books on our phones, haven't we? Or documents, at least, right? I'm conditioning to make sure that you don't want to read a real book, all right? So, how many of us have got the Bible on our phone? There you go! Praise God for His wonderful kindness, that He's able to give you the Word. Yes, the Father does use that for the benefit, for our benefit, but there's also other dangers, yeah? Please be aware of this. 2029, moving ahead. Advanced brain mapping leads to hundreds of distinct regions of the brain being modified. Artificial intelligence claim to be conscious and openly petition for recognition of this fact. I just mentioned it. It's been mentioned. That's their aim. I will show you these films and these. They do the conditioning from years out. Years out. Honest. Continue to look at it, 2030s. Nano machines are directly inserted into the brain to control incoming and outgoing signals. Your emotions will be controlled. For my bit, I'm not disagreeing with anything he's saying, because all I'm doing is showing you that what he's saying is correct, and this is how they intend to get down to doing it. This is a nice one. Mind uploading becomes successful and perfected, and humans become software based. That's just scary. All AI surpasses human beings as the smartest and most capable life forms on the planet. You will be replaced. (2040) Artificial food commonly assembled by nano machines.
Claire, can I possibly just ask a question?
Sure.
Is it happening now?
Good question. We haven't quite got there. The question asked was, is it happening now? I remember that because sometimes when I listen to some of that and you hear the question, the person listening doesn't actually. Anyway. They can't quite do it now, but what they're doing is a form of. You have to take steps to actually get to it. Slowly. Like when we were all young and small, we took our time to walk. We weren't able to be athletes at the age of 1 or 2. It's a step-by-step process. Remember the principles about splicing. 2099. Some humans, at least as old as baby boomers, are still alive and well. Some. Organic human beings are a small minority of the intelligent life forms on Earth. Small minority of the intelligent life on Earth. By the way, who's heard of this? Universal basic income. 1. Anyone else? Okay. 2. Beautiful. Right. I'm not going to put you in boxes, but I'm going to ask the question. Some of us get social. Now, the social, I will get to at the very end. But this is the build-up to get into the point that I'm referring to. Right, so automation. We've got robot-to-worker ratio that rises rapidly in factories all around the world. These are the amount of robots that do the amount of work. There's a payback. Obviously, you invest into things, and as long as it's the amount of investment you pay in, over time, it gets reduced, right? Now, the developing world is the biggest risk of jobs, because as you can see, Ethiopia is mostly an agricultural society. When you get to something like India, there's a bit of a combination, although still an agricultural society. So therefore, those people, those places, lose job when you go move to technology. We see this in these American countries. Their jobs are at risk as well. They're no better off. The problem is bigger in manufacturing. Insurances. You don't need a human being to say, by the way, you're going to want your car insured by me. I'm going to decide how much your risk is. We use a computer to generate whether there's a risk for that person who's requiring the insurance, right? Therefore, automation is done there very easily. That's why it's at 99%. Mail carrying, we see that Amazon have already gone into the process of doing what? Thank you very much. Using drones to deliver your packages to you, no human being. We used to have letters delivered by one horse, one man, and he only can carry a certain amount. Alright? We're down to no man, a machine. Fast food, most of us go drive-through, or at least once in your lifetime, done a drive-through. You didn't go into the restaurant, sit down, or didn't go into the restaurant and go to the person at the desk and say, can I have a Big Mac or Burger King? And sat down, and then somebody cleaned up after you. You actually drove up. In the Middle East, they have cash points. You drive up to the cash point. You don't get out your car. You put your card in, your number in, you get your money, and you drive off. You don't even have the bank open. That's the Middle East. That's in Dubai. That scares me. I've seen it. I've done it. Yes, thank you for bringing that one up. Yeah, you sit in the car. In America, they like to do that. Yeah, you can sit in your car and somebody comes out to you and what do you want, sir? Madam, okay, boom, gone, bring it back to you. Have a nice day, gone. You need muscle. The reason why you have muscles is so that you can till the ground, give the Creator honor and glory for the strength He's giving you, and that you are so grateful for His mercies and kindness. So the basic idea of universal basic income, notice I'm using the word universal, just say universal, it's a fixed amount. The level is sufficient for subsistence given by the state to all citizens regardless of income. It's distributed. How much is given? That depending upon the country. It really is. How much will it cost? In the United States, about 3.2 trillion to distribute 10,000 to the citizen. They have what they call, I think they call it an EBT card, which every person that goes on the benefits, they get a card and it's topped up and it's taken at shops. We're pretty close to that. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Now obviously they say, well, the most substantial benefit would be the elimination of households living below poverty line. That would be good, wouldn't it? That we'd all not be living below, or a lot of people would be able to have food in their house. That's good, right? Remember what I said, that they become the husband to provide to us, right? That takes away our responsibility from looking after my brother. Remember, we just had the Shema, loving your neighbor as yourself and making sure my neighbor is, oh brother, you've got enough food? You good? Come over and glean from my land. Come take what you want. Nah, I don't care about them. There's a couple of cases. We have the Alaskan case study here that have implemented their own brand of basic income since 1982, called a permanent fund dividend. There is one here in the UK. I'm trying to remember where it is, but it eludes me at the moment. But I'm sure there is one. So, since its implementation, spending and saving regularly increase around the time the dividends were distributed. It's increased in purchasing power, resulting in 10,000 additional jobs. This is the plus bit. There is a negative side. I'll jump ahead. Nibia side. In 2008, church groups, NGOs, who knows what an NGO is? Thank you very much. I like speaking to versed, well-wise people. It makes my life so much easier. NGOs, non-government organizations, okay? That's what they say. That's actually not what they are. So the proportion of malnutrition children dropped from 40% to 10%. Poverty rate dropped from 86 to 68%. Average earned income beyond the universal basic income was increased by 29%, and crime dropped 36.5%. It's always a good side.
They have universal income in Sweden, and in Sweden there was a documentary on recently that actually was talking about the rate of homelessness and poverty because of that. So outwardly it sounded like a really good thing, but they've got increased homelessness.
Yeah, increased homelessness. And I'm going to take advantage. And I'm going to move to what she was talking about, Switzerland. They voted no. The final results of Sunday's referendum showed nearly 77% opposed the plan, and only 23% was backing it. The proposal was called for adults to be paid an unconditional monthly income. Unconditional monthly income.
Is that irrespective if you are working?
That's the word unconditional means. Correct. Unconditional monthly income. The brother asked, is this irrespective if you're working? That is correct. You don't have to work. You get the money. The amounts reflected on, the amounts that was supposed to be given was, in our term, £1,755 per month, per adult. And they didn't have to work. As she mentioned, the homelessness increased. This included the children as well. The children did get something. The calculation I didn't do. It was
So, was it a digital credit?
£900 each child. That's the equivalent. Yes.
Clev, was that a digital credit or actual money?
Good question. Was it digital? Was it actual? Forget it. It's digital. There was no way they would have given you actual, because what is money according to the scriptures? What is money? I want an answer. Come on. No, come on. Pardon? No. It's actually there in scriptures. Any idea? Just have a word with Gary and let Gary tell you. The word is, in Hebrew, kasef. What is kasef? Thank you very much. Kasef is silver. When Abraham weighed out money or silver or shekels, a shekel is a weight, by the way, it's not a currency. It is not a currency, it's a weight. Silver is classified as money, kasef. You have to weigh it out. No, they wouldn't give you that because the New World Order are into digitalization. They can make the money, they can quote unquote transfer into your bank, boom. Basic income, as I was saying. What would you do if your income was taken off you? This is a view of UK government website. And on it, it says universal credit. They've already started. Thank you. Hopefully you've understood something and where we are. No questions, by the way. Let's go.
You talked about money, but the paper money that we have, does that mean anything anyway?
No, it doesn't, to answer your
What
question.
I'm trying to say, our whole teaching about wealth has been wrong.
Of course.
No, paper is classed as currency, whereas silver and gold are actually...
But that's exactly what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to say, it doesn't matter what they do,
No.
the whole thing that really is messed up anyway.
Correct.
We need to rethink our thinking.
What you don't understand about the money system is that the paper is just your confidence. You have confidence that has value, but what we used to have in America and both the UK is all money was silver and gold. Always silver and gold. And what it says on your banknotes is, I promise to pay the bearer. You know, so in the older days, you used to be able to take that piece of paper to a bank and they would give you silver and gold in return. It was too dangerous to walk around with bags of silver, you'd get hooked. But that's why they brought it in. And every economy in the world that has used paper money goes through the floor eventually.
Yes.
The confidence will eventually go.
80 years, I believe.
Yeah, many thanks for staying with us. The recording time on this particular session has been reduced just under 60 minutes. So unfortunately, the length of the whole session wasn't covered. But if you want to know more about the other areas that were shared by other speakers, we have one session on the Georgia Guidestones, number 2, Transgenics, remember Dolly, the sheep, number 3, vaccinations. Did you know that they're still putting mercury into vaccinations? Can't believe that, but they are. Number 4, animal and human mutation. What's that all about? Well, I know my friend has covered a little bit on that one, but there's a lot more else to share. We do thank you for being with us, and again, I'm sorry that we couldn't cover the whole session. But if you go into the site, which is ahavafellowship.com, you'll see information there and contact details. Or if you want to come into the site that we run, which is kctvmedia.com, we cover a lot of other stuff. Basically, the news behind the news. Anyway, God bless you. Speak to you soon.
And transplant it to you, connecting all the nerves, everything. We're talking nerves, bones. How do you do that? That's how advanced they are with human tissue, but they've done the same thing with inorganic matter. So soldiers can now have limbs that they've been blown off in combat or whatever, not just blades. They've got toes and legs. Remember the $6 million man? It was just Hollywood telling you what they knew they were going to do.